I was reading over the holiday period, not a holiday for me, I was working in the mornings, but I was reading on one of the international news sites an article about autism and the really significant increase in the number of autism diagnoses. At the moment, roughly 1 in 36 children is now being diagnosed. So that's close to 3 children out of every 100 children. These are obviously in parts of the world where this kind of diagnosis is possible in terms of the medical services available. But in those areas, roughly 3 out of every 100. And just 20 years ago, it was 1 in 150. So a significant increase in the number of diagnoses. And the article was saying the people who do the science in this field are not really sure why. Kristin Bartlett joins us now, a therapist working in the field of autism. Kristin, good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon.
On the spectrum, autistic, neurodivergent, these are words and phrases that we are hearing more and more often. We are seeing people with autism in literature, in television, in movies. It's becoming much more of a kind of mainstream part of our lives. But I sometimes wonder if when we toss out one of these words, oh, I believe they have an autistic child, whether we really know what we mean by that.
Yeah. I think autism is so complex that it's difficult to always pinpoint exactly what the definition is, but there is a clearer understanding of what autism is and how we can explain it now to the world.
Explain it in as simple and short a way as you can without dumbing it down too much.
Sure. So it's a neurodevelopmental condition. So you are born autistic and you will always be autistic. That affects how people communicate, socialize, and experience the world. So this might include repetitive behaviors or difficulty understanding social cues, or might have some sensory sensitivity to sensory input. Now, we call it a spectrum because it presents differently in each person with varying strengths and challenges. So one individual might struggle with certain behavior difficulties or need a strict routine, while others might be verbal and others might be nonverbal and others might be able to interact socially, but others might not have that understanding of social cues.
Which is
so that's why it's a little bit complex, yeah.
Which is why we have this phrase, on the spectrum. And
Yes.
in your experience as a therapist in this field, I presume you've also then seen a greater number of people diagnosed with autism, classified as autism, whatever the proper phrase is, coming in for therapy. You will have experienced at a practical level the increase in the number of people being diagnosed with this condition.
Yes, definitely. There are various reasons, of course, for this, but many people have a better understanding of it, and people are also a little bit more curious because of social media and the information that's also being placed on social media. So people are asking more questions, people are looking at more research, and therefore I'm getting many more inquiries about helping individuals either attain a diagnosis or help them understand whether they might have it or what other neurological or neurodevelopmental condition they may have.
So there are two sort of broad categories, I suppose, two broad answers to the question of trying to explain the increase in numbers. One is that the number of people who are classifiable as autistic is pretty much the same as it was 20 years ago. It's just that now there's greater awareness of the condition, there's greater reaching out for expert opinion, diagnosis being given, and so on. So the numbers haven't changed. The numbers of autistic people haven't changed, but the numbers of autistic people diagnosed, that's changed. That's the reason for the increase. The other larger group is there are actually more autistic people now than there were 20 years ago. Do you have any sense of which of those two broad strokes is more accurate?
Yes, definitely. I do believe that it's not that there are more autistic individuals, but that there are more diagnoses happening. Our understanding of autism is much better today than what it was 30 years ago. And it's because it is also so complex, so much more research has been done in autism to try and improve our understanding of autism. The public awareness has also improved. Therefore, it isn't as misinterpreted or misdiagnosed. There's also been an increase in the diagnostic criteria. So there's a broader diagnostic criteria than what there was originally when the first diagnosis occurred. So there's a wider spectrum of behaviors and abilities, allowing for the recognition of, let's say, less support needs that autistic individuals might display. And often, because of this lack of diagnosis, there used to be a misdiagnosis or often overlooked case back in the day, such as kids were maybe diagnosed with ADHD or anxiety, or the symptoms were entirely overlooked. So improved diagnostic tools and practices have corrected these errors and leading to more accurate diagnoses. Now, the diagnostic criteria was also originally based on boys. So there's been a massive gender bias, resulting in girls often presenting differently and also not then being diagnosed or underdiagnosed. So we're seeing many more girls or women coming out with a diagnosis later on in life. So our understanding of how autism presents itself in women and girls have also improved, and therefore we are able to diagnose it now at an earlier stage rather than in later in life. And there's also, of course, the cultural and socioeconomic influences, where access to diagnostic services varies greatly across regions and socioeconomic groups. So low to middle income countries, limited resources, cultural perceptions of autism have also historically led to underdiagnoses. Now, this is because of the increase in awareness and global initiatives, we are able to improve that access and assessment and support to individuals. Now, I can carry on. There's more.
Yeah, no. In the little time we have left available to us, I do want to ask you about. I've been reading a lot about theories, hypotheses being put forward about environmental things leading to the development of autism in womb, for example. Research that says that early life exposure to air pollution is a significant risk factor, and more people are being subjected to greater and greater pollution as cities get, well, not all cities, some cities are cleaning up their act, but there are a lot of cities around the world that are getting more polluted, and more people are being exposed to that pollution. Pregnant mothers are being exposed to that pollution, and research suggesting that particularly in the third trimester, you can up to double the risk of a child being autistic as a result of exposure to pollution. So, I mean, those do seem to be factors playing not perhaps the most significant role, but they certainly do seem to be around as well.
Yes, no, for sure, they do. So genetics do play a significant role in autism. It's important to just mention that because research does show that autism does run in families and hundreds of genes have been linked to it. However, autism isn't just caused by a single gene, but results from a complex interaction of these genes together with the environmental influences. So environmental influences during pregnancy and early childhood are also being studied. So this includes the age of parents, complications during pregnancy or birth, or exposure to toxins like air pollution or pesticides, and even gut health. These are all being studied now for their potential effects on brain development. But while these factors don't cause autism on their own, they may increase the likelihood of autism when combined with genetic predispositions.
Kristin, thank you very much indeed. I just want to say to people that if they're interested in the subject, particularly with a local angle, I read your master's thesis, which is available online, and I found it absolutely fascinating, and I recommend that anybody who has an interest in this field, it's relatively easy to find, and it's quite easy to read and very rewarding to read. Thank you for your time. Oh,
no, it's a big pleasure. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Autism therapist Kristin Bartlett. And if you're interested, if it's something you want to explore because of personal experience, then she works with Aurelia, Aureli Autism Services.